to bring all the highs and lows. Said I'm gonna win.
Hello there and welcome. So, I had promised to give you an update on the whole Belkin plug issues. So these kinds of things. Oops, really? We're going to start off that way? Okay, fine. That's actually fitting for what's going on. So if you caught the earlier show about this, or if you had gotten any of the various emails about this, which would look something like these, just basically, I guess when did this start? This started in July of 2025. There was an update in October of 2025, and then another update in January of 2026. The whole thing is about the fact that they are discontinuing support for the app, and also because of that, the plugs. So all of the smart plugs that we had bought, either if they're labeled with Wemo or they're labeled as Belkin, there's a very good chance that they are no longer working for you. So the end date was January 31st, 2026. And I gave it some time after that because a couple of mine kept working, but not all of them. So any of the newer ones, if you're TLDR, so any of the newer ones, the ones that kind of look like this, do I have, I thought I had pictures, but maybe not. Let me get you pictures. These are not working, definitely. This is not the newer ones started to die for me last year before we got the notification. One by one they started to die, and I thought, okay, maybe it was just some of, the devices, it gotten wonky or whatever. But the reality is, here's just a really good example of, the variety, right? There's a lot of these plugs out there. And so it depends on which one that you've got. So these, like this one here, these are the older ones. This is the newer style. They've got some smaller ones as well. But there has been a lot of variety out there. And they were solid. They were rock solid. I recommended them. They totally worked. But now they don't. So for whatever reason, Belkin, bought Wemo, and then now they're walking away from this. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. Why spend money to walk away from something? But this seems to be a theme this year. If you've followed the Rocketbook thing, you know what I'm talking about. So what I did was, I had various ones around the house, various generations of these plugs. And like I said, these started to die early. And when they died, they never came back. Now, they're still functional, right? So they've got these buttons on them. And the button location is going to vary, right? Some of them are on the side. There's some on the top. But, the button itself still works. So you can still click on this and turn it on and off. And that's functional. But it's not a technical smart plug then, right? Because you can't talk to your smart device and get it to do things. One of the things I tried just as an experiment was I turned off updates on my phone for the app because I wanted to see what was going to happen. Now, you're probably not going to be able to see the details on this, but the app is still in the store. But if you look down here, you see that the last update was October 30th, 2025, which is right around when they sent out one of the reminder notifications. Okay, so it's here, but if you try to use the app, this is what you're getting. And it spins forever. It never, ever loads ever again. It is a dead app. Why a dead app is still in the store, I don't understand. But that said, now I don't have the Apple HomeKit, okay? Because that's one of the things they're saying, like, if you have Apple HomeKit, some of them will still work. But that's not, the beauty of these is that it didn't require a separate device, right? It just worked through the app with whatever smart devices you had. So let's see what happens if I don't let it update the app. Well, that had no impact at all because, as you see, it just spins it. So they reached out and they killed the app, or more likely they killed the server that the app is running on, and that's why it just spins and spins and spins. But that said, I still have two that works. Now, after the 31st date, it still worked. Like February 1st, February 2nd, those two were still working. And then I had like 3 days where they didn't work at all, right? So again, if I press the button on the actual plug itself, that worked, but giving the command, none of my smart devices, I have the Google one and I have the Amazon one, none of them worked. And then on the 4th day, they started working again. So I don't understand quite what's happening. I guess my best guess is basic, turning it on, turning it off. The smart devices are still connecting to these older ones, and I suspect that they are doing that because the older ones didn't get all of the additional features that the newer ones got. Those additional features, we're relying on you having the app installed, and I think that's why they're still working. I will let you know when they finally give up the ghost, but for right now, they are still working. But that said, if anybody who's not using the Apple, what do they call it? Hang on one sec. I don't use it, so I never remember what it is. HomeKit. So Apple HomeKit, there is a subset of devices that will still work with it. They put the list in the email. You probably got the email. If you didn't get the email, if you go into the description, there's a link to the very small amount of information that Belkin made available, but it does include that list. But it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 different devices. I would expect all of these to die. They're not going to support them. They're not providing support anymore. They're not going to update them. But you've got a little more time on those. For anybody else, if your plug is not working and you give it a couple of days and it's still not working, I would write it off as dead, and then you need to make the decision. Like, did it provide enough value to you that you want to go and try a different one? In the other video, I did provide some ideas for that. Basically, the Wise devices are the ones that I'm relying on, but also TP-Link are still working, so those are another thing to look at. But basically, the Belkin Wemo combination are going to go away, so you need to plan for that. But for the time being, I have 2 old ones, and I can show you what the old ones look like. Let me just do that for you, because maybe the visual will help. But the 2 old ones are still working for the time being. I have no idea how long that's going to be. So the ones that are working for me, it's this one here. So this one. Okay, that's got this little button on the top of it. And where is the other one? The other one is this one. So these are the 2 that are working for me. These are very early generation devices. And I think that that's why they're probably still working, because they're probably getting around it. Alex asked a very good question. How is this legal? Yeah, that's a really good question, right? It's their playground, it's their ball. So legal? The reality of life is if they decide to pull the switch, they pull the switch, right? It's the equivalent of them if they went out of business, it would go away. It's kind of the same thing. But yeah, I have very strong feelings about this. I will spare you. I think I ranted a little bit more in the other video. If you really want to see me rant, go look at the Rocketbook ones, because that's a whole other, it's the same type of thing. But yeah, this is not how you treat your customers, right? This is not a smart way to treat your customers. People who have invested, they've spent money. It's really not okay. Yeah, Alex, in the past, when you bought an item, you expect it to last a certain amount of time. Yeah, now these companies are killing their products by shutting down servers connected to apps. Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. They don't, look, there's really no such thing out there on the broad scale as an ethical company anymore. I'm sure that there are smaller companies are probably your better bet if you're looking for ethical companies. Once you get to big companies, and once companies start buying out each other, the death spiral has pretty much started. And if you look at, if you go back and you look at things like Microsoft and Adobe, they are notorious for this. They will buy up companies just to kill the business. They didn't want the competition, so they kill them. In this case, why you spend money, and again, this is the Rocketbook thing too, why you spend millions or billions of dollars to buy a company because you want their products and their IP, and then a year or two later decide, well, you can't be bothered and shut it down. To me, that's just irresponsible business practices across the board. Regardless of that they're, being awful to their base, it's just stupid business practice. You know me, I could go on for this. Alex, the appropriate thing would support connectivity through other companies like Google for products like this. Right. But they don't care. They just don't care. And like for Belkin, they were sneaky as F about this. Like they sent out like that one email in July. And when I started talking, because like I used to recommend these to people. Like I feel terrible because I recommended these to a lot of people. So I started reaching out to people that I remembered that I'd recommended them to. And I'm like, want to make sure you know about this. They had no clue because nobody opens all their emails, right? So it was a sleazy move. They made no attempt to really get it out there. They could have done a social media push. They could have done an advertising push. They could have made efforts to get the word out there. But they didn't. They didn't bother. So, again, they don't care. No company cares about their customers or their employees, but that's a whole other rant. Alex, imagine the time the refrigerator decides they're going to shut down support for refrigerators, and now your refrigerator won't cool anymore. That's what it feels like. Right. Well, also, they used to build things, and I wish we'd had this conversation earlier because I could have found this meme. There's a meme out there about, back in the day, you would build things and it would be sold on, this is going to last you forever. And then they, updated it. We built you this thing and it's going to be really reliable. And now we sold you something, it'll work for a while, maybe. Like that's the approach now, and it's sleazy. Again, not to go too far off the topic here, but this is why I will not buy these stupid appliances that are connected to the internet. I don't need my refrigerator connected to the internet. I don't need my refrigerator to have a screen in it. I don't need my refrigerator to have a camera in it. Same thing for my washer and dryer. I want appliances to do the job, and I want it to be done. Tech. I wouldn't be surprised Samsung does that with smart fridges. Yeah. See? Shared brain here. Alex, we've come a long way from the clapper, which was seen on TV, a product was very good. Yeah, of course, mine stopped working after a while. Right, and I mean, after a while is one thing. Now, that's the funny thing about this for me, because the devices that I bought first, right, so the early devices are the ones that are still working. And that's kind of cracking me up, because it's like, oh, okay, so the ones that you would think would have failed by now, because I've had them for a number of years, they're chugging along. But now, the newer ones don't. And I have a collection of these, and I'm going to send them back. There is a recycling program, at least, so little less damage to the environment on that. But yeah, so what's not going to work, even for these older ones, but I don't think they really worked anyway, there were things that you could do with your smart device that were, cloud accessible. That's not going to work anymore. So any of those special things are not going to work anymore. You won't be able to add them, right? You can't add anymore if you've got a few laying around, even the old ones, because you need the app in order to add them so that your smart device would know about them. So you can't even add a new one or reactivate one that you've got. It's really not good, Alex. It's not that the device isn't functional either, right? It's just that they decided to shut down their support instead of maybe pushing an update to allow it to work on a home network or Google. Well, and that's what's fuzzy here, because they're doing it with the Apple HomeKit thing, which I have no interest in. I have no interest in Apple devices right at the moment. I'm annoyed with, Apple's management. Again, I won't go there now. But so if you have the home device, now there's probably the people who are more into hacking, will probably find a way to maybe, get a Linux solution, and my brain is just gonna give out on me here. The little box one, you guys know what I'm talking about. But there's probably, ways to do that. But the whole point of these devices was that you didn't need to be techie. You didn't need to know how to hack a device, right? You just plugged it in, you connected it, and it worked. That was the level that they set. Like, this was supposed to make this kind of technology available for anybody. Now, somebody who's more into, digging around and trying different things and coming up with your own home solution, you'll probably find a way to do these. And you'll probably be able to get a good price on, big boxes full of these devices. But, those are not. No, I was thinking Raspberry Pi. That's what my brain was going for. Alex, this would be a nightmare in our house because practically every single light is on a smart device. So same here, right? So, like I said, when these started to die, and you know what, it might have even been more than a year ago. Might have been like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that one by one these started to disconnect and wouldn't reconnect. And a couple of them I got them come back, but most of them I didn't. So to me, I'm starting to think this was, despite what they said in the emails, this was planned and this was coming for a long time. tech. You need, I guess, to make your own boards at this time, right? For home automation, use open source stuff. Yeah, Home Assistant. Yeah. So that's the thing. But I have a feeling like somebody out there will probably come up with a Raspberry Pi solution, but Raspberry Pi solutions are not something that like the mainstream is going to be able to do this. So for those of you out there who, were using this on our mainstream and don't want to get into the hack things, unfortunately, you're kind of dead in the water unless you've got one of the older ones and it's still working. If you have one that's still working, I highly recommend not trying to, move it someplace unless you do it, fairly quickly, because anything that would require you to reconnect it isn't going to be an option because they've borked the app. Right now, I was wondering when all of this started to be talked about, because they were very fuzzy about what their plans were. I wasn't sure whether they were going to reach out somehow and destroy the devices too. And like I said, I don't really know what happened with these. I don't know why these died first before even the announcement came out. But the fact that my older ones are still working to me says that they did not at least reach out and kill those. But it's just, it's sleazy. Alex, perhaps a good company idea would be to make a universal remote that can make these work again. Yeah, I mean, really what would be necessary would be an app, right? Because the app was the key, and the app being dead is the problem. So, like, this will just spin forever. Like, if you like to watch circles spin, you can fire up this app and watch it spin. I mean, like I said, I don't understand why the app is still available in the App Store. It's dead. What's the purpose? Why bother? Also, it's absurd that you can't avoid this by purchasing from a reputable company because Belkin is well known and reputable. Right, exactly. Right. So that's why, like I'm saying, like, so, the Wise ones that I've got, WYZE, those are working. The TP links are working. I will say that I've had more of a struggle getting TP links connected sometimes, but once I've got them connected, then they've been okay too. What does this mean going forward? We've got to keep an eye on things, right? Because clearly they don't care. Clearly they're just willing to walk away from a viable business model. And clearly they're not interested in making their customers happy long term. So anyway, I had promised that I would update you and let you know what was happening when all this happened. And that's where we're at. We're past the date. The app is borked and it is not coming back. So anything that relies on the app is not going to work, but basic turning it on, turning it off is working for me for older devices. That I can't guarantee that that's going to work for everybody, but I did want to at least give you the update on what's happened. And like I said, I did experiment with not letting them update the app, but it didn't matter because the app is on my phone. You can see that it's running. It's the server that's not responding. It's just not there. So I'm sorry to say that this is where we're at. There are people, there are those of us who are using these because they were fun or it was a convenience. What makes me angry is there are people that really need this, right? People with physical disabilities, limitations, and that's unconscionable to me. Like, you have now screwed over those people for no reason other than the fact that, well, you're bad at business, right? I mean, the way I'm looking at it right now, Wemo and Belkin are bad at business. They don't care about their customers. They don't think about the implications of the half-assed decisions that they're making. And here we are. So now there are people out there who absolutely rely on these things, right? It's not a nice to have. It's a, I need this, and they no longer have it. And they may not be equipped to be able to switch them out themselves, and now they're going to have to find somebody to help them. So, there are levels of anger that I'm feeling about this. But for, where we're at right now, so where are we? We are February 9th, 2026. This is where we're at. If and when things change, when these other plugs die, if I get wind of anybody who does put out a, open source app or that builds their own app that solves this problem, I will absolutely come back and let you know. But I would not put a big bet on that right now because I don't know that there's anybody out there working on it. I have heard whispers of people working on the Rocketbook problem. I'm crossing streams here, but since it's already come up. So I am keeping an eye on that. But as far as these plugs go, I have a feeling it's going to probably be a little bit harder because it's probably there's proprietary stuff happening here. But we'll see. Alex, think about all the people who set up their boomer parents with these and now we're going to have to go over and fix them. Well, that's my point, right? So that was one of the things that I did when my dad started to have mobility problems was I put like one light in every room with this and I hooked them up with a smart device so that as he was going from room to room, he could give a command so that by the time he got to the room, the light was on. Or, when he was in bed, he could turn the light off without, so yeah, I mean, I know firsthand how helpful it can be for somebody who is struggling with mobility or fine motor problems or, whatever the issue is. And, they were very willing to sell these as a solution. But now when they're killing it, they are not giving anybody any thought about that. And as far as I'm concerned, the crappy job that they did of notifying people about this and telling people in, what was it, June or July? July of 2025, and then killing it, 6 months later, that's not enough time. That's not enough time for people to come up with solutions, test them, put them in place, get the help that they need. Like, it's just not. So, yeah, I'm angry. I'm very angry about it. I apologize to everybody out there that I ever suggested this device to or this company to. But yeah, it's not good. Alex, yeah, son, my lights won't work. The app just spins. Okay, Dad, did you try turning it off again? Yeah, this is beyond the turning it on and off again problem. And that's why I've been trying to get the word out about this ahead of time, because Belkin Wemo certainly wasn't bothering. So for all their, after this, the first email that went out, right? After careful consideration, bullshit, they didn't consider anything, we made the difficult decision, also bullshit, to end technical support for older Wemo products effective January 31st, 2026. No, my older ones are working. The newer ones aren't. So that was just the first sentence of that email, and it's got tons of bullshit in it. Yeah, Alex, we have this terrible news. Also, oh right, yeah. Well, we can talk about the Discord issue later. Yeah. I posted in Discord about that, by the way. Sorry, that's a different conversation. So which ones do I recommend? At this point, what I'm recommending is the Wyze, so WYZE. They have a bunch. They're well known for their security cameras, which I also have, and I like those. But they also do the plugs. They have one plug solution. I think you can buy it single or in a 3-pack. That's been working very well for me. The other option I would recommend is TP-Link. T as in Tom, P as in Paul, Link. Like I said, though the TP-Link, I do find the setup is a little bit wonkier, but once you get it set up, you're good to go. So yeah, their app is all right. It's better than some other apps. TP or Wyze? The Wyze one I like. That one works pretty well. Like I said, TP-Link is mostly... The one thing I will say about the TP-Link option is that Wyze, yes. Yeah, sometimes it gets a little slow. The one benefit that TP has over Wyze is that they also have the smart power strips. So you can plug multiple things into their power strip and control each one individually. So that's really nice. Like if you need to do this and you need to have multiple devices and you're limited on outlets, that's a really good option about that. Tech, I'm iffy about Wyze that they're Chinese. All of these things are coming from China. So if you're worried about it, then you shouldn't be using these at all. Alex, let's be real. We're in better hands with the Chinese than we were with our own government. Yes, right now, that's become very, very clear. So yeah, out of all the things I'm worried about, that's not one. But if that is a worry for you, just be aware that all these, it probably says on here, right? Is it honest on here? Yeah. Designed in California, assembled in China. So whatever you're buying, any electronics you're getting is going to have Chinese, at least Chinese parts in it, if not coming right from there. So yeah, and yeah, I'm these days I trust them more than I trust us. So here we are. It is dead. But if you have older devices, it may still be working. And if you're really lucky, yeah, some of the newer-ish ones may also still be working. Just don't depend on that long term. Don't count on it. Come up with a plan to replace them, because sooner or later it's going to go away. I wish I had better news. I really do. Unfortunately, that's not where we're at. But if you have any questions or comments, or you need any suggestions, you can reach out to me at yourtechcoach.com. There's a contact form there. If you need me to get back to you, please make sure you give me your email address. Other than that, you can keep an eye on the videos, and I will do my best to keep you up to date. All right. Hope you've gotten other good news today, because this is certainly not a good news one, but it is our reality, and I just wanted to make sure that I did get you the update that I promised you. So thank you so much for coming and hanging out, and we will talk again soon. Bye.